my father, he led my father, he led my father all the way from earth to heaven. Let Jesus lead you all the way. He's a mighty good leader, he's a mighty good leader, he's a mighty good leader all the way from earth to heaven. Let Jesus lead you all the way.
Good morning. So yesterday was hard on me for whatever reason. I have that whole message about coming down from the mountaintop, and it was very apropos. It was very kind of like exactly where I was, and kind of scary and amazing in that way. But then yesterday, I just afterwards, for whatever reason, and throughout the first half of the day, for sure, I was there in the valley, and so in the valley, and so like aware of being in the valley, and just immediately, I don't know how how schizophrenic and selfish the human psyche is, my human psyche is, to go from just gloried and dizzy, and then as soon as I get back in darkness, I'm like, oh no, it's all useless, nothing's working now. Like, I remember as a kid, in Sunday school or whatever, you used to hear all the stories about the Israelites, and they would be delivered from some, towering battle with forces far exceeding their own, and then they would, like, get out, like Egypt, for example, and then they would, like, get out of that city and immediately be like, my God, why have you forsaken us? We're so confused. And it was just ongoing. It's like non-stop, massive delivery, like miraculous, etceteras. And then they'd freak out again. They'd be like, oh no. And that was always funny and sort of silly about them. And then that's how we are. That's how I am. I am like the Israelites, having these just delicious, transformative, massive moments, and whatever in the stuff I've been reading, I've kind of been talking about those as moments on the mount, when you really feel the divine nature of your faith, or you get to see clearly kind of the sprawl of the power involved with the creator of the universe, and having some congress with that force or being, or however you want to refer to it. But then luckily today was like, it's perfectly natural as well. That doesn't mean it's good or it's righteous, but it's perfectly natural. Coming off of the mount, back into like the trenches, so to speak, or the valley, to sort of really, you kind of see the darkness of the valley all the more. And maybe even that's part of the humility of the whole thing, I guess, too, to keep from being just like infused, I should say, with infused and enthused with zealous certainty that I think maybe to some people can be off-putting. So maybe that's why. And I don't mean off-putting, like pudding pops, but like, off-putting can sway some, making me a little, okay, you're a little too certain and zealous right now. It's kind of freaking me out. So maybe this is just to keep me human. But it was nice. I mean, it was kind of, I guess, a nicer way to think of it maybe is just that, like, as I was trudging in darkness and in somewhat a state of confusion, trying to be blissful, trying to be faithful, it was more or less like a reassuring hand on my shoulders, the back of my shoulders, or on my head, just to let me know, hey, you're not alone in the darkness. I have all this in my hands. I have you in my hands. I can do this. You can feel my touch like this. So seek my face and do my will, and it's all going to be fine. And then he's not going to sit there and hold me all day long, because I got to keep walking. So today, one foot in front of the other, back at it. Things kind of schedule-wise kind of finally settled into place yesterday, after sort of midday, after all the blah 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 the sort of negative feeling and darkness, and just feeling surly and frustrated and bleakish. And today, let me see if this would also be helpful before I siggity sign off. Oh, so people brought this kid who was suffering convulsions. Who didn't speak. He was a mute kid who had convulsions and seizures and stuff. So they brought him to Jesus because Jesus had been healing people and stuff throughout his ministry. So they were like, hey, maybe you'll heal this kid. And then they brought him to him meaning Jesus, the first him meaning the boy. And when he saw him, Jesus, immediately the spirit convulsed him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed, foaming at the mouth. So Jesus asked his father, how long has this been happening to him? And the father said, from childhood, and often he has thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. I guess they thought he had a demon. Maybe he did. I don't know. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Oh, I guess this kid was demon possessed. Because he was deaf and dumb, and he would throw himself in fire and water to destroy him. That sounds bad. Jesus said to him, so often he said, but if you do anything, have compassion on us and help us. How often have I prayed that? How often have we needed that? Holy cow. Jesus said to him, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. That's what I was struggling with yesterday, really. Not that I didn't believe, but I was just like, I wasn't believing in whatever track I was on, because I was like, this just feels crappy now. Like, in contrast to the bright, sweet light, this feels kind of crummy. But that's where we learn, and that's where we serve, and that's where we have faith. If we're always transformed, then honestly, what sort of faith is that? Because you're like, well, I feel faithful because I'm always in massive joy. And that's not really, I don't find that realistic or even super desirable necessarily. Jesus said, if you believe, all things are possible. Immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. When Jesus saw the people come running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him and enter him no more. Then the spirit cried out, convulsed him greatly, and came out of him. And he became as one dead, so that many said, he is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he had come into his house, his disciples asked him privately, why could we not cast it out? Hilarious, honestly. How often we're like, miracle of miracles. But, God, how come I couldn't do that? Why didn't you just let me do that? So he said to them, this kind can come out by nothing but prayer and fasting. So, funnily enough, that's what I've been trying to do a lot more of lately. And actually, I think it's the first time I've fasted since I was young. So prayer and fasting is happening. So if anybody has a demon, I guess, let me know. Maybe I can help with that. But as for now, I'll be trying to clear away the demons in my own heart, in my own life. Or rather, I'll let him cast those out. And I'll just continue to walk in faith. And not by sight and not by a physical sensation. That sounds sensational.